we talk about this rebellion that coffee is known for, the 1763 slave rebellion, also known as the Great Rebellion, also known as the rebellion that came close to overthrowing slavery. So it started a lot of things, right? There was a lot of influence that this rebellion created. So it's important for us to understand that the colony of Berbice, which was governed by the Dutch during that time, had a whole lot going on. This situation ain't nice. You had diseases going, you had harsh labor conditions, you had food shortages, you had brutality. And the enslaved Africans said, nah me, we fed up. So you found that since 1762, they made efforts to revolt. But those efforts were not very successful. And you would think that, you know what, these plantation owners would use sense and say, these people are acting up, so we need to safeguard ourselves. No, they didn't. So the 23rd of February 1763 came, and let me tell y'all, they didn't prepare, because at 5,000 enslaved workers versus 400 plantation owners. When this rebellion started on the 23rd of February 1763 across several plantations, it spread. After a while, the colonizers became very fearful. You had some on the side, those who not there, telling them, oh, stay on, think about regaining control, this, that. Them being aware of their population versus the enslaved Africans population, they're like, nah, we got to cut and clear, we got to run out, we got to find cover. So they were concerned about their lives, and they prioritized their escape instead. Things got, I guess, the enslaved Africans were so pumped, and they were so upset and frustrated to the point that after a while they took control of majority of the plantations within the colony. I think there was just about 1 or 2 plantations left, and that is where you found that the plantation owners attempted to take refuge. There was even an attempt by the plantation owners to seek the help of the enslaved Africans to allow them to use a boat and go where they needed to go. But friends, the rebels burned up the people boats, so they couldn't go, and I believe there was bloodshed. Within the enslaved Africans grouping, you had disunity. One side felt that, you know what, we have more military power, so let me take over this thing. We done this thing, let me take over this thing fully. But then you had people like Coffee, who felt they're about peace. He was about peace. He wanted to have negotiations, and he did in fact negotiate with, I believe it's a governor there, a Dutch governor who was present in the colony, and his idea was for the Dutch to take control of the north, and they find new slaves, while the enslaved Africans, they would take control of the south. Those who had gotten positions like Coffee and Atta and so forth, they will take the people who are trying to get their freedom, they would take those people and enslave them, essentially. You also had people who were not in agreement with that. You had persons who were like, no, we just want freedom, we just want to go and live we life peacefully. But they attempted to go form maroon communities within Guyana. However, that didn't work out, because the Dutch governor, he made Coffee feel as if, you know what, everything is gonna go right, this, da da da. He put up a show. And then after a while, after he kept stalling, reinforcement came. So that switched the situation in terms of control. And so the people who attempted to go experience this maroon lifestyle with no leader, with no master, they were stopped, because the Dutch now had a deal with the Amerindians, and the Amerindians had clear instructions to ensure that these people who going into the bushes, they don't go. You block off sites, you block off escape routes. Reinforcement came, and the back and forth went on, but after a while the Dutch regained control because they now had a stronger military footing. The enslaved Africans, they were in a tight position, of course. They were not familiar with the sea, so they were stuck to the plantations. They couldn't say, we jump in the ocean and we can find a way out. No. They had to rely on the Dutch for access to the ocean. They had to rely on them for food. After a while, you found because of this, they started returning to the Dutch because they became hungry. There was the killing. Some of them even went about hunting for others who had rebelled and ran away. In the end, after the Dutch regained military dominance, the escaped Africans, and I'm using escape, the escaped rebels, they were brought back, they were tried, and they were executed. You had after execution ongoing. It's not until persons who came directly from Europe became aware of what was happening, then the executions were halted. It is important to know that Kofi got frustrated after a while, and Kofi committed suicide because I tried this whole thing, which lasted close to a whole year. Well, over a year to be exact, about 13 months. And then if they're to recapture me, I would be tortured, I would be killed. So it went. So he chose, I guess, to sacrifice himself, and that was another means of him showing that he was not in agreement with the treatment that they were receiving, and there was the need for freedom of his people.